Hey house guests, welcome to today's bbcan 9 updates and spoilers. Our house guests of the day are George Lane IV, aka Gio Epe, and Christina Dune. Thank you both so much for the support. You guys have been around forever and we so appreciate that. So thank you so much. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day, we can't do it without you. Check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Oh my god. We have a bullshit house meeting to talk about today, but we got some other junk to talk about before we get to that. So, when we left off yesterday, Josh and Rohan are up on the block because Kiefer used the power veto on himself and Rohan went up in his place. So, it's not looking good for Josh at this point. I mean, there was some talk about the Sunsetters potentially flipping the vote to get rid of Rohan instead to split up Rohan and Kyle, because that's kind of, a power duo, and the Sunsetters are feeling a little bit threatened by them. And just to remind you guys, the Sunsetters are Latoya, Kiefer, Jed, Ty, Beth, and Tina. But Tina quickly shot down that potential vote flip. It looks like it's dead for now. She didn't think that they should risk exposing the alliance so early on in the game. Plus, I think she was just pissed because she was not present for the initial discussion about potentially flipping the vote, so she was not happy about that. She was like, no, we're not doing it then. But yeah, people are following her lead, and they're like, oh, you're right, we shouldn't do this. We'll see what happens when the campaigning really begins. So Tara, Tina, and Rohan were chatting in the kitchen, and Rohan says, if I make it past this week, our group of 4, so the 3 of them plus Kyle, are in a really good position. Are you though? Because Latoya is determined at this point to take out Kyle, and Latoya tends to get what she wants, it seems like. So Tara says she wouldn't mind chilling out for a bit and watching other people make waves. And if they can't avoid the waves, then they're well-rounded for competing, and they should be able to somewhat protect themselves. So then they were talking about other people in the house, and Rohan says Victoria's a wild card. Nobody really knows where she stands. But she doesn't really seem to have any ties to anyone, so maybe we can pull her in. And Rohan also wants to keep Kiefer close, but Tara thinks that he's already working with some other people. He is. A lot of people seem to be missing that Kiefer is part of that huge alliance, the Sunsetters Alliance. People are just not picking up on that. He's doing a really good job of, spreading himself out and talking to a bunch of different people. But they all agree there's a lot riding on the next HOH competition, because that's where, the lines are really going to be drawn, and it's going to determine a lot. So, anyway, Austin and Ty were chatting in the HOH room, and Austin is now saying that this week is cut and dry. Initially, she wanted Kiefer out, which was not what everyone else was planning. Everybody else has been like, Josh has got to go, blah, blah, blah. But she wanted Kiefer out. Obviously, that is not a possibility anymore because of the veto. But now she seems to be on board with Josh going. So Ty starts playing devil's advocate. And he's like, well, if Josh stays, he'll be a shield for everyone. He's going to be somebody that's always going up on the block. Ty is not saying he necessarily wants that to happen. He's also thinking, we're going to be really screwed if then, Josh stays and he wins the HOH, because anybody could be going up at that point. Who knows who he's going to go after. I think he'd probably go after Austin, right? So yeah, Ty brings up their alliance with Beth and Jed, that group of 4, and he says the 4 of us can really have something there. But it's funny because, 3 out of the 4 in this group are in the Sunsetters Alliance, and I feel like if they had to cut Austin loose, they would, right? Austin says she's into it, though. She doesn't know about that. She says she's into this group. She loves it. People would never suspect the 4 of them working together. Yes, they would. And she says people don't even think that me and Beth talk game. Yeah, they do. A lot of people do. But anyway, they speculate then about who could possibly go up next week. And it sounds like a lot of people are throwing around Victoria, Tina, and Tara's names, because Ty says people are going to see those 3 as easy options. So Austin's like, well, if you were to win, would you put up Kyle? And Ty's like, oh, I don't think I'm the one to take out Kyle. This is all because Kyle went to Jed and Ty and was like, oh, we're all like big athletic guys. We should all look out for each other. Like, we shouldn't be going against each other. So Austin is also like, yeah, I don't think it's my move either. I don't think I'm the one to take Kyle out. So Ty says he would have to take out a girl. What the F? Like, this is bullshit. But anyway, they're really hoping that they won't be restricted to nominating just the other team next week. You know, they want to have all of the options available. Because if Team Defender loses again, they're only going to have 5 people to choose from for nominations, and that's wild. So Josh and Tara were chatting outside later, and he's telling her he's not going to start campaigning yet, you know, especially not on Rohan's birthday, because he would feel like a total jerk, but he does run some stuff by her for feedback, and Josh says, obviously, no one is working with me, and it just doesn't make sense for people to take someone out that isn't working with anyone else. Like, why would you do that? Why not go for somebody who has more ties, right? And he says, I have a target to go... Sorry, I read that wrong. I have a target to go after now if I win HOH. He's talking about Austin. So he'll be able to tell people that and be like, I'm not going after you, I'm going after Austin. So Tara's like, wow, I wish you were up against anyone other than Ro. Do you? She says, I don't think it's in my best interest for you to go. I mean, we know that Tara is working with Ro, so she's not going to vote him out. But do we think that she would flip a vote to keep Josh against somebody else? Because I have my doubts. So Josh says he also has 2 bigger cards up his sleeve, just waiting to be pulled out. But he's saving those for Thursday. They're going to come out before that. So... we get a little preview here. Josh says he never mentioned any specific names to Rohan about who should go up as the replacement nominee, because there was some drama the other night. Apparently Jed I didn't see this, but apparently Jed confronted Josh during a game of Never Have I Ever in the hot tub and, like, I guess called him out on, like, dropping his name as a potential replacement nominee. But Josh was like, no, that's not how it went down. Ro was trying to use Jed's ego against him so that he would blow up at me. I do remember Ro speaking a lot to Kyle about using Jed's ego against him because he's an emotional player and trying to get him to blow up. So, I mean, that lines up. So Tara's like, who knows, maybe there'll be a twist and you'll come back. What the F? He's not gone yet. What is wrong with these people? So Josh is like, I'm not counting myself out yet. You know, I haven't been voted out yet. But he says his last-ditch attempt will be to try and divide the house into 2 sides. He sees 2 groups kind of forming right now. He says, 2 groups of 4 forming right now. On one side, you have Kyle, Ro, Austin, and Brayden. I don't think they have anything officially yet, but they're definitely working on it. Versus LaToya, Beth, Ty, and Jed. Yeah, I mean, they're all in an alliance together. You're just missing the 2 other people that are with them, Kiefer and Tina. So he's not wrong, you know. He's getting a lot of it right. There is some crossover there, too, as well, but he is calling out some actual alliances here. So then the feeds went down for a bit last night, and it seems like Big Brother may have given them some sort of a treat for Rohan's birthday party. I think they had some pizza. And then everyone was hanging out by the hot tub to celebrate Rohan's birthday for a while. So then later, Toya, Tina, and Tara, that's a lot of T's, they were all chatting, and Toya says she just wants a smooth couple of days. She's so sick of Josh, and she can't wait for him to go. He's allowed to campaign, okay? What, is he supposed to just sit there and wait until it's time for him to go? I mean, really. So Tara's like, I think we will have a few calm days, and then Josh is going to wreak havoc on Thursday morning. She says, I don't think he's going to get the reaction that he's thinking he will, so I wouldn't worry about it. I think, you know, he's going to put up his fight, and then he's going to go. And LaToya's like, oh, I'm not worried about it, like... Nobody's going to believe what he's saying. So they all agree that they would like for the teams to be done because there's a lot of anxiety about how everything is going to go down next week. They're assuming, Josh is going to be the one to go this week, and then next week, who's going to be the new target? Everybody is so focused on Josh right now. So they're also wondering, if the teams are still going to be a thing because, if Team Defender loses again next week, that's going to be rough. Tara is not sure what she wants. She doesn't want to win HOH because she doesn't want to have to put up 2 to 3 people out of 5. But she's also nervous about her team losing and not having that immunity that she's had the last 2 weeks. So Toya was asking her, well, how would you feel if, Team Defender won, but you were, guaranteed by them that you would be safe? And Tara's like, yeah, I'd be cool with that. But she doesn't know where anybody stands, so she doesn't have that. But there was a lot of speculation by everyone the last few days about when the teams are going to end. What do you guys think? Leave it in the comments. I feel like there's probably still a few weeks of team stuff left, right? Maybe there will be a reshuffle in there or something, but I feel like they're going to keep it going for maybe 1 or 2 more weeks, I would say, probably. Anyway, this morning, Tina and Kiefer were the first ones up, so they had a chance to chat together. They're already planning for next week. And Kiefer says, best case scenario, one of us, meaning the Sunsetters, win HOH. Best case, Jed wins, and he takes the heat, and we protect him the following week. He says, I don't think people are going to be upset with who Jed puts up. I think he means because Jed would put up, some combination of, Tara and Victoria. I guess he wouldn't put Tina up, right? Because they're in the alliance together. But probably, Victoria and Tara. So, yeah, he's like, I'm not worried about that. He's not going to be trying to make any huge moves at this point. But it'll be some blood on Jed's hands early on in the game. And Tina's like, well, do you think Jed maybe would go after Kyle and Ro right away? Or is he going to go for one of those easy moves? And Kiefer's like, I think he's going to go for an easy move. Also, it's going to depend if the teams are still in place. Who is he even able to put up on the block? So then Tina gives Kiefer some advice. She tells him, you should be careful because people are noticing you getting closer to the guys, Kyle and Ro. Because Kyle and Ro were trying to pull him in. And Kiefer's like, okay, well, for you, people are noticing you and LaToya hanging out together a lot. And Tina's like, oh, well, I don't even talk any game with LaToya. I feel like 60% of the game talk that I've seen on the live feed so far has been Tina and LaToya. But I'm not complaining because their game talk is very interesting to listen to because they're both so game smart. But anyway, they both agree they don't want to see Josh get bullied this week, right? I mean, it looks like he's leaving, so they don't want any, shenanigans here. There will be shenanigans. Okay, so then the feeds went down for a while this morning, a few hours, and BB showed them some sort of a video that's really made a splash here. It's making them super paranoid. Maybe, a twist is coming. Maybe somebody's coming back. Maybe somebody new is coming in. They're not really sure what to think of it, but they're definitely on edge about it. And then the feeds were down for a while again this afternoon. I don't know what the deal was with that, but apparently during that time, Josh must have started dropping his campaign information to stir up the house because a bunch of the house guests were outside, in the hot tub area, and Jed was reporting to them, oh, I talked to Josh, and Josh is saying that Austin is the one, week 1, who started calling the guys Pretty Boys 2.0, and that Josh just took all the fall for it, and after, Austin was even thanking Josh for not exposing her about that. Also, apparently Josh said that a bunch of them are targeting Jed, especially Austin, Brayden, Ro, and Kyle, who he called out as an alliance, which again, they are kind of forming up. And also, Ro doesn't like Victoria. These are all things that Jed is reporting back to the group that Josh has said. So, of course, none of them believe this stuff, or at least they're saying they don't believe it. And then Austin comes outside and they tell her all about it. So now at this point, everybody is getting fired up. They're like, we should call a house meeting. We should call out Josh. Let's do it now so we can catch him off guard. Don't give him time to make up more stuff. Like, they don't want him to be able to go around and have individual conversations with people and spread this information around because they know some of it's true. So yeah, they want to essentially gang up on him and call him out in front of everyone. It's really gross. So everybody assembles in the living room for a house meeting, and Jed is really taking the lead here. Everybody is sitting on the couches, except for Jed, who's like in a chair in front of everybody. So Jed says, okay guys, so like Josh started campaigning, and I think it's better to air things out as a house so that he's not going around to everyone individually, blah, blah, blah. So is like no one going to be allowed to campaign this year, or is it only because you're all wanting Josh out, so you're going to all gang up on him, but then when it's you who's in that situation, no, it's just campaigning. So anyway, I lost my spot because I'm so annoyed. So Jed says, if you've thrown out my name this week and you wanted me on the block, can you raise your hand? Because I'm hearing like a lot of people have been saying they want me out. Why would anyone admit to that? Like, this is obviously for show, but why would anyone admit to saying that they want Jed out? That makes zero sense. So Tara does say, I threw out your name as a pawn because I said, like, you're so well liked and everything that if you went up, then that would guarantee that, like, Josh would go. So Josh says, well, I talked about it with Kyle and Ro. And then he and Austin start going back and forth, and it's getting messy. You know, a bunch of people are jumping in here and there, so it's all very much like everyone else on one side and Josh by himself on the other side. So Josh says he never dropped any specific names to Austin. And he says in a different conversation with Austin, he's talking about the one before nominations when he was giving pros and cons about everybody from his team, including himself. And he says when we talked about Jed, that Austin said they didn't have the votes to take him out this week. Which I feel like I do remember her saying, but she is denying it. So then Josh says that Rohan told him that he wanted to win the power veto so that he would be safe, he'd be able to take Josh off the block, and then they could backdoor Jed. Now, this is definitely a conversation that was had, because I remember Rohan being like, I'm going to tell Josh, like, to let me win the veto so that I'll be safe, and then I'm just going to not use it on him. I'm going to fake him out and leave him on the block. I remember him talking about this with Tina. And I remember him saying that he had already laid the groundwork with Josh. So, of course, Rohan is denying this when we know that it's true. And Kyle's jumping in now. Are we the Pretty Boys 2.0, like you said? Like, are all of us guys working together? Or are people targeting Jed? Which one is it? There's a whole lot of lying here, and it's not Josh. I'm not saying that everything that Josh said is 100% true, because I don't know that for a fact, but there is a lot here that is true, and these people are denying it, and because they're all against Josh, it makes it seem like, oh, we're telling the truth and he is the liar. So, I mean, especially Austin and Ro, they are trying to cover their asses here. They did say a lot of this stuff, but they're all ganging up on Josh. So then they talk about the Pretty Boys 2.0 accusations, Josh saying that Austin was the one that initiated that whole thing with him, saying that, you know, the guys were all working together. She's saying, no, these are blatant lies by you. And if I did think that that was true and that they were all working together, why would I not put Jed up on the block? I'm the HOH this week. Okay, so then everybody is questioning why Josh is saying he would target Austin if he were to stay. Did she not put him up on the block? Like, why is that so crazy that he would say he's targeting her? That seems about right to me. But then Josh was bringing up how it's very easy to go 4 against 1 here. Exactly. And it wasn't even 4 against 1. It was like everybody else versus him. There were a few people mainly that were speaking. It was a lot of Jed, Rohan, Kyle, who else? Latoya jumped in there a little bit, but not as much. Yeah. Did I say Rohan? I don't know. So Rohan was being super condescending the whole time, especially when they were accusing Josh of saying that he was like too smart for this house. And Rohan was like, oh, well, are you that smart? Because like if you were smart, then you wouldn't have done this or you wouldn't have said this. And it was just super like slimy and gross. So then starting to kind of like wrap things up here, Jed asks Josh, why would you staying over Ro benefit the house? So Josh says, Ro is a better player than me. You know, why are you going to get rid of me when Ro is a better player? So then Jed starts talking some nonsense about how if Josh stays this week and it's like Jed and Josh in the final 2, that Josh would beat him because he's done more in the game. What? Why are you already putting yourself in the final 2 with Josh, like, in front of everyone? And why are you basing people's decisions for who should win on, like, what somebody has done in the first 2 weeks of the game? Like, it was insane. He's like, Ro hasn't done anything yet. It was just a mess. But eventually Beth jumps in and she says, guys, let's stop grilling Josh. I think he gets it now. And I think that the consensus, Josh, is that you're going home this week. Wow. Beth has been getting on my nerves lately, but this house meeting was just like, girl, you need to stop. Like, you're too much. So it was just wild. But the meeting pretty much broke up after that, and it was so gross. Like, I hated every second of it. It was disgusting to watch. Why did they even do this if they all agreed that they're not going to believe anything he says and then he's going anyway? Why gang up on him like this in front of everyone? It just didn't make sense. Also, is there no campaigning allowed this season? It's wild. But yeah, we'll pick it up there tomorrow. We'll talk about the aftermath of this house meeting. We've got 2 days left until the eviction. Something tells me it's not going to be good for Josh, but let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. And until next time, much love.